Hello, beloved. Um, I hope you had your coffee for the day, or you're just starting. Cheers. It's a very good day. It's the day of the Lord. He has made it with a purpose. Did you ever think that none of the days could not be there? Every day it's counted in an order. This order by peace, arranged by the Father through peace, for every day, for your life to flow. Every day is in the flow. You cannot have a day like, well, I don't know, this was kind of a boring day. I could have missed this day. No, every day has a purpose. He is in you to live a life with the purpose. Yeah, ask him, hey, what are you doing today? What is happening today? Right? And hopefully, what I share with you in in this series about meeting different people, it's helping. Because that's an adventure, there is a journey that's waiting for you, it's expecting. As soon as you start your day, you open your eyes, there is another X or an Y that you are to meet and bless. Yes. So we keep going. Today, you get to meet X. He was born in a Mennonite family. I'm not sure if any of you are, in connection with Amish or Mennonites, Mormons. Um, I'm sure they are special people. And what I'm sharing in these sessions, it's not a doctrinal thing, right? It's not going to show you what's wrong with this, what's wrong with that, right? But I'm just going to give you a little bit of history, a little bit of information, because you're going to get to understand X and how did we meet. So the Mennonites came from Switzerland, including some that went to Russia for a while, and then they ended up in America. I think most of them are located in Kansas, the state, somewhere around there. But they have villages, small cities. They are mostly farmers. They have their own churches, communities where they meet. They are keeping the tradition started to the Anabaptists in the 16th century. So they have tradition, and they really have to be very strict, and they have to keep very strict rules. Otherwise, they cannot basically inherit and continue the line of the Anabaptists, which they believe they are the best and the truest of all Christians of all time. So Anabaptists believe the baptizing of the adults, so people that can confess with their mouth that they belong to Jesus, and also they were keeping Saturday as the Sabbath. So they are a very close group. They are not allowed to mix with other religions. So they marry, they have kids, they grow in that community, they die in that community. And that's how the community has grown for centuries. So my friend X was very open-minded, traveled around the world to find a history of his ancestors. So very desiring to understand, at the same time very connected to his people, to the Mennonites, and went to see where they came from and to understand why they do this, why they don't do that. So as he was growing up and got in his youth, young man, as a young man, he kind of stood up to the leadership of the Mennonites because they kept trying to tell everyone that they are the only true church and there's no other true church that exists on this earth. So Acts stood up to that, and he basically said, no, there are other believers. He believes that there are others and they're part of God's church. And that's a no-no. That's trespassing one of the hardest rules and most important rule that they had in there. And that's how they keep, right? They have to have fences around with almost no gates or just one gate that, it's guarded very well, so no one can come in and out, and no one can get out without being checked. So they excommunicated him, kicked him out. You're out of the church, you're out of the Mennonites. So since most of his family that he cared for was in there, he suffered. It really affected him. So, these restrictive dogmas, this type of religious, super restrictive things, hurt the body of Christ through the centuries. Remember in the book of Acts, it talks about the Judaizers, those Jewish people that would go from place to place and go to the Gentiles and tell them, no, you have to be circumcised, you have to do this. Sweet Apostle Paul had to deal with that. Remember the Galatians? He got so upset with those guys. Super upset. Because they would go after he would bring the grace and the salvation through faith and says, no, that's not good enough. So this was from the beginning, from the first churches that were established and went through centuries. People that are in this type of restrictions and they look at you like, oh, you're going to hell for sure, just because you go to church on a different day of the week, or because you dress in a certain way, or very restrictive things hurt the body of Christ. And I've seen some of that. Maybe some of you are from the rejects of some denominations or some sects or some, and you understand what I'm saying. There is a hurt. It kind of sticks with you. I remember one of the biggest hurts for my soul was not, what the communists, the atheists were doing to me. I knew they cannot do any better. But when a pastor, somebody with the Bible in his hand, looked me in the eyes and said that I'm full of demons because I contradicted him. I told him, no, Jesus said all things are possible to him that believe. And he says, how do you dare to tell me? How do you dare to teach me? You're just a little kid. You don't know. And just because I raised the Bible and I said, no, but this is what's written here, he just completely cursed me. And those looks, those eyes, those words that he said, it took me years. It's not a matter of forgiving, right? It's just deep wounds don't heal overnight. Right? You know this, deep wounds. You know, if you are working in a medical field, you get trained. There are special classes that deal with deep wounds, how to heal deep wounds. It's not the same as a little cut, a normal wound. Deep wounds. This is so difficult for the soul to handle. And yes, the new creation comes from inside out, and that's how the healing should be, from inside out. That's why they don't let deep wounds to heal from outside in, because then it leaves that place where it can get infected. New creation is the solution for healing deep wounds from the spirit into the heart, into the soul. So basically X, because of being so deep wounded, just kind of moved away, but he went kind of in the other direction, in secularism and universalism and some kind of a philosophy type of thing. So when I met him, I felt like a prodigal son coming home, and kept trying to place me as the others, you know. He resisted somehow, saying that, yeah, but what about the Buddhists? What about the Muslims? What about the Hindus? I mean, everybody has his own rights. I mean, why do you think you are closer to God? So it took lots of love, lots of patience, lots of listening, and healing from inside out. See, that wound, if it is not healed, it's gonna bring that infection of religious philosophy, secularism, weirdness. That's not because the person wants to reject God. No, they've been hurt, deeply hurt. So how do you go after the rejects? After the not good enough, falling off from the standards of different religions and denominations? First of all, you have to know they belong to the Father. They are God's kids. They belong to Him wherever they got. They might not know the way back. They might not feel that they can be received coming back. Love them until they trust you enough. Say, well, I don't want to call them to me. You might say, well, you might be the only hand of the Lord that they can catch, they can grasp. You might be the only voice of the Lord that their ears can hear. So they will trust you, which is Christ in you, which is the Father drawing them through the Son. Drawing them through you to Himself. So maybe you couldn't find your place. Maybe it's hard for you to find a place. Maybe churchianity is not the place for you, and you feel it's this rejection and not good enough and being pushed in a place or another. You are so loved. You are so loved. I'm not sure if I know everyone that's listening to this. And I'm just telling you, the reason you are listening is because the Father's message to you is He loves you. And even these words are a drawing from your heart to Himself. You belong to Him. You left from Him. Not from a religion, not from the way people think. You left from Him. You are of Him, and you belong to Him. Come back home. Come back home. You are so loved. This is the place that you have the Father's love and the Father's heart. You belong there.